Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Leadership Speak series at L Forum. Today, I am a little emotional and very joyful because I have the privilege and honor of inviting someone I hired on campus 24 years back in India. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Vipul Kumar, Senior Partner, Xynteo. Welcome to the show, Vipul.
Thank you so much, Ringo. Good morning, and really a pleasure to be here. And
it's mutual. It's absolutely
a pleasure and an honor to kind of speak to you, somebody who seeded the start of a pretty satisfying and blissful professional journey. So I'm really pleased to have this conversation with you, Ringo.
I am so delighted to see you again. And, 24 years just seems to be it just seems like it was yesterday that we met, right? So, Vipul, for the benefit of the audience, I would like you to tell us your journey from that, start on the campus to you becoming a established leader. I would love to hear your journey in your own words.
Thank you. No, I think, Ringo, for me, really, it's been 23 years of a very, very blissful professional journey. It's something which has been truly satisfying. It has multiple dimensions. It has all the ups and downs and all the variety that I could have asked for. Really, I think in this 24 years, I have kind of got an opportunity to work across a very wide spectrum. I worked for an established corporate tech Infosys. I worked for an organization at a stage when it is scaling up. I worked for an organization who is at a venture stage, and I've been involved in seeding an organization from an idea. So it's really that spectrum. The other side of it is having worked in technology consulting and strategy consulting as an venture investment. Again, another dimension of really why I feel it to be truly satisfying. To add to that, having worked with pure commercial business, work with pure social impact organization, and now working at the intersection where you are driving commercial output, but then also driving very positive social environmental impact. So really that spectrum is what kind of makes me feel that I've had a really meaningful and a very satisfying 23 years. Really, I think it all started with that day at our undergrad school where we met. And really, I think I was very clear, to be honest, that there was only one organization that I wanted to go. There was no ambiguity in my mind.
Wow.
And that emphasis, right? I didn't have a second choice. I didn't think about it, right? So, and of course, God's grace, I could have that offer. I always wanted to get Bangalore as my base location, which again, I got. So I think that's where it started. And I think it's been a pretty interesting 7 years at Infosys. And I think there are a couple of things that really is the highlight of those 7 years. Number one, I got to work with very early on then, almost like 18 months into the organization, a leader who really practice the whole concept of empowerment. I think a 24, 25-year kid sitting out at a client site in the US of an account which is absolutely critical for the organization. And you see a young leader out there just completely believing in you, completely giving you that in some form the trust that you could deliver. And I could almost feel that relationship almost unlocked so much within me to say, you know what, if somebody is respecting me that much and trusting me, I need to reciprocate to exceed his expectation. It just changed how you look at your professional relationship in an organization. That's where it started. Well, I think after 7 years, there was this whole thing about saying, I would like to get into strategy consulting. And hence, it's a good idea to go for a business studies, get a break, think about what you want to do. So that's when I went for my business studies. And then from there, I went into joining a strategy consulting firm. I was very particular also to look for a smaller firm where I have a lot more play and room to create an impact. I worked there for a year. And during that time, it just so happened that 7 like-minded individuals had an idea about why can't we run our own consulting firm and why can't we do it on our own. And that is when we set our entrepreneurial journey. I set up a consulting firm advising the logistics infrastructure space, and it was founded by 7 partners. And really the core base of that partnership was quite unique. There were 7 partners, aged between 25 to 45. We started the company with equal shareholding to say, you know what, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're putting in the risk, it's not about what is your current salary, what not. It's about what is the risk that you're taking. And for each individual, that risk is of an equal amount. Well, that 5 years of that entrepreneurial journey was almost the high point. Really working with the best private equity clients, doing work of a different magnitude, really driving your energy from sitting across the table with the most established consulting firm and be able to prove that, hey, there are 7 kids on the block who could challenge the most established consulting firms. But then I think we got so passionate about that work, Ringo, that we lost the track about, hey, this business is to grow and scale, and we cannot be choosy. We need to do, cookie cutter work, etc. That's never something that we really interested in, right? And we said, you know what, I think let's wind down, let's find our own ways. I had tasted entrepreneurship, and I could never imagine going back to a large corporate in a job, right? So I tried a couple of other startups. Very early on, 2011, 12, I got into a startup on elder care. Well, went around doors of VCs. Nobody saw the hockey stick. Of course, it was a brick and mortar business. Well, shut it down. Now, of course, it was not the right time. Now we have many of those such startups shaping up. We got into online medicine delivery, never spoken about in those days. Now we have many of them in India. But I think the short story is that we didn't have a hockey stick growth at that point in time, and hence we didn't have investments. That was a time when I kind of got introduced to an opportunity from a friend of mine who was based out of the US, and he was helping a very large FMCG company try and enter emerging markets. How do you design products meant for emerging markets? And I did set their operations in India, and that was almost a point where I started to understand which direction really business would grow and how important emerging markets would start to play a role. And that introduced me to the whole space of impact investment, social enterprises, what's really happening in nurturing social businesses. And that's when I kind of joined a firm called Innovent, and it was into impact investment. I managed their South Asia office. So we did invest in social businesses. We ran partnership programs in driving and catalyzing and incubating social businesses. And that was a fantastic 5 years. Again, I mean, really working on the ground, seeing the impact, working with very meaningful entrepreneurs who is really out there to create social environmental impact. Now, I think after those 5 years, I started to realize what is the scale of the impact? Can that be a lot more transformative? And my view was that there are only 2 ways that you can create transformative impact. One, either you work with the government or you work with large businesses. That's where the might comes in. And I was really looking to work with a large business or an opportunity where a large business plays a role in creating impact. And that is when I think this beautiful thing happened with Xynteo. An organization who is really working with large businesses in driving their growth strategies at the intersection of social and environmental impact. So really multi-billion-dollar businesses, how do you design your next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years strategy where you have a very solid commercial growth, but then that growth very much is driven by an intrinsic social and environmental impact. So that's been my journey. Now, I think it's been 5 years with Xynteo. I'm loving this stage. I think now we are invested by a private equity fund. So there's this another leap in terms of the next 5 years that we hope to achieve. So yeah, there's so much to feel proud, feel satisfied about the last 20 years, but at the same time, there's so much more to look forward to the next 5 years, Ringo. that's been more or less my journey.
Outstanding. I mean, maybe I'm saying it because I'm a little biased. I look at you like how a parent would look at their child when they grow and do well. I get the same feeling when I see you. Like I was telling you prior to our conversation, that I feel proud that I picked well. It reinforces my belief in talent, and seeing you do what you're doing, Vipul, fills my heart with pride and joy for you. And needless to say, I'm confident you're going to do wonders, continue to do wonders. So, in fact, this whole thing about social impact and commercial output, it's such a great marriage, because if you can do something which also benefits, and bottom line is not the only criteria, I think it's a true win-win in my mind. So my best wishes to you and Xynteo. My next question, obviously, would be, in your journey, it seems like you've kind of tasted entrepreneurship and a lot of empowerment. What is your definition of empowerment based on your learnings?
I think I'll think about it in two different ways, Ringo. I think one, for me, the very broader definition of empowerment is a relationship of mutual respect, care, and accountability. That's what I think is truly empowerment. And I think when I think about more from a professional setup, I think it's a combination of three in my mind. A definition of very well defined goals and objectives, full accountability, and where you are set up for success, which means you have the full support and authority to fulfill your stated goals, objectives, etc. So it's really a combination of all of these three where I think true empowerment happens.
Excellent. I mean, it's very important when, like you said, you use the word mutual respect. That's such a, it's pretty gray, right? And it's important. You either experience it or you don't experience it. And of course, accountability, if you don't have accountability, you don't even realize if you have empowerment or not. So my next question to you, Vipul, would be, what do you think are the benefits of empowerment? Have you experienced it? And do you have any anecdotes to share with us in your journey where empowerment really was the competitive advantage and the success factor for an organization in your journey?
Let me pick maybe one quick, I would say, example, really, Ringo. And I think in my mind, there are a few things that really helps develop a competitive advantage as far as empowerment is concerned. Number one, I believe that empowerment unlocks individuals' capabilities and value. The second thing in my mind is empowerment elevates accountability. And the third thing in my mind is that empowerment enables leveraging of diverse capabilities and skill sets. Let me just kind of try and articulate that. And it is very much specific to, say, the kind of work that we do at Xynteo. When we look at our talent or what really is the capability that allows us to do what we do, there are three pillars of capabilities. One happens to be very clear strategic consulting capabilities. The second happens to be capabilities where you have an absolute entrepreneurial mindset, where you have bias to action. And the third capability is where you understand the domain, you understand the technology, you understand the nuance of the business. So I think all three needs to coexist to do the kind of work that we do. Now, in an organization like ours, if you do not necessarily empower people, what it does is that it doesn't allow you to leverage that diversity into one collective force, because each individual is functioning individually. So I think very much in the way we work the project, because a lot of the work that we do starts from an ideation to a development of a business idea, to an investment thesis, to almost implementing those projects where you have demonstrated impact. So that entire cycle needs all of these three diverse skill set and capabilities to play a role. And hence, if you have a very empowered organization, I think it allows all of these different skill sets and talents to work in tandem towards a common objective. So that's what I would think could be one way in which we can think about how empowerment really creates a competitive advantage, because you're able to deliver something which is not easily replicable just by bringing in talent if you really don't bind it with a culture of empowerment.
I mean, that's very important. Do you have any anecdotal stories where you saw this kind of getting implemented because empowerment kind of was the reason why you succeeded, or a lack of it, or whatever, because I think the audience would love to hear if you have any anecdotes to share.
See, I think if I may just pick up, as I said, I think just from let me just think about a clear example, because this is something that really functions in the way that Xynteo delivers its work.
Okay.
Just think about a project where you do a blue sky thinking, right? And that project within 12 months needs to be implemented on the ground. There's a whole journey, right? Right from ideation all the way till delivery of that project or delivery of that functional project. Now, I think the way it operates when we are really talking about the early stage where you're talking about how do you ideate, how do you move from an idea to a viable project design, really the need for extremely entrepreneurial mindset comes into play.
Awesome.
You move from an idea which is well defined into a stage where it is an investable business. A huge role plays in how you think about, a problem solving, your financial modeling, your business plan, etc. There's a huge role that a strategy consulting role plays. And then beyond that, when it's about converting that idea on the ground, is where a strong role for implementers, somebody who was biased for action, really play. So in my mind, I think because these are joint teams and we have these kind of collectives who jointly work on these projects, I just feel that because there is a common objective and everybody is empowered to leverage each other's competencies, it just works very seamlessly. I don't know if that is a good enough example.
Absolutely. I think I didn't want any specific example because that gets very tactical. Exactly. That's what I wanted to hear, that how are you making sure that is empowerment kind of built into the DNA of the firm or the projects or everything? Empowerment is like, it's like the air we breathe. It should be very intrinsic to the organization or to your culture. I think that's what and it seems, you people have kind of figured it out, which is great. And I'm sure that's something that, many would aspire to do, honestly. So, like, there are two sides to the coin, Vipul. What are the challenges of empowerment? What have you experienced any?
Yeah, I think that's where a big role of the right recruitment plays in my mind. I think the big challenge that I have observed in this is when you really don't respect that empowerment, you really don't try and earn it. I think the moment it becomes a sense of entitlement, that because you are here and because this is exactly how the organization operates, you feel like it's an entitlement of yours to be having that empowerment to function. I believe that's where the thing starts to break. So I think it's extremely important that you value that empowerment comes to you and stays with you only when you really respect it and you earn it on a daily basis. It's not a given. And I think that's where, in my mind, the big challenge comes in if you do not hire people with that right mindset and who understands the value of empowerment. I think that's one thing that I would say would really be a challenge if you don't have the right people and with the right mindset. And this is something that I think really is quite more observant now as we kind of hire more young talent, and it's nothing to do talk about young talent, but really that mindset where you start to feel like this is more a given than something to be earned and respected and nurtured very carefully is, in my mind, a bit that needs to be addressed to really have a culture of empowerment.
Beautiful. I think I loved it. Empowerment is not entitlement. I'm going to use that. So, because you see, you're very right. I think somewhere where in our effort to probably offer more avenues to the younger workforce, the younger leaders, one starts to believe that this is a given. Like you said, it's not a given, it's earned. And you got to keep earning it every day when you show up at work. Just because you did something well 6 months back doesn't mean that you will have it today. So yeah, beautiful. So I think I'm probably my last question for today's conversation, Vipul, is what advice, what suggestions would you have to young entrepreneurs, young leaders, and generally, I mean, even for people like me, even what would be your words of advice based on your journey so far?
Yeah, I would love to maybe share some advice based on my learnings and journey and not being philosophical. But really, I think in my mind, there are two things I would say. I think as a professional in a job, I would say be fearless in experimenting with your career choices. Sometime listen to your gut feel in your heart and not always your mind. I think you would be much often you will be pleasantly surprised. And if you're confident about your capabilities, don't pull back. And there's no age where you could experiment with your career. So it's not about saying I've spent 10 years, so well, this is too late for me to experiment. I would say if there's an opportunity, if this opportunity becomes exciting, you like it, be fearless to experiment. That's one. And the second, really to entrepreneurs, this is very much from my learning. Focus on developing a right product which is fit for the market. Don't chase investors. As much as you are chasing an investor, investors are also looking for you. So if you have the right product, if you have the right business, be rest assured the investor would find you. So don't chase money too early if you are an entrepreneur. Really build a solid business and an investor would find you to invest. So that's my piece of advice to budding entrepreneurs, really. And this is from my learning because I did chase money too early.
Outstanding advice. Outstanding advice. Thank you, Vipul. That was great. I think I kind of resonate with a lot of that you say, because in my own journey, I tend to resonate with the fact that you have to build, it has to be a pull. It can never be a push. Push can only go as far as you keep pushing. When you stop pushing, it just stops. So pull is any day better. I totally agree with you on that. So yeah, I mean, it's been so refreshing and so exciting to speak with you, Vipul. And needless to say, I'm super confident you're going to touch new heights of glory and success. And I wish you and Xynteo and any other venture that you are involved in all the very best, and wish you all success. And now that we have kind of rediscovered our journeys again, I look forward to connecting with you. And as I said, L Forum is basically meant for people like you and me, meant for entrepreneurial leaders. And I hope this is a platform where I will be able to bring you on for many other activities and events I have in mind. Because the hope is that we will learn from each other and help each other become better in what we try to do. So thank you, Vipul. Thank you for your time, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, Ringo. It's really been a pleasure. And all that I would say is that keep inspiring people, Ringo.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Like, share, and subscribe to the EL Forum channel.